Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of WIPO Mission Imagination. Today, we dive into one of the most urgent challenges of our time, climate change. All data points show us that we need to do more to address this problem. But while it may seem daunting, there is hope in the horizon, and it's powered by innovation. But how do we scale these solutions to urban environments that are home to millions of people? Our guest today will give us a better idea. Andrea An is an urban energy infrastructure expert who founded Beijing Shiji-Yunan New Energy. She will tell us how smart technologies are creating greener and more efficient cities. Hi, Andrea. Thank you for being here today.
Hi.
Really nice to meet you. So, the battle against climate change will be won or lost in cities. What sparked your passion for finding ways to make cities more sustainable and efficient?
Great. Thanks very much for your question. Um, I have been doing innovations and startups in the past 15 years in my career. The one thing I found out about it is that it's very difficult to make people live in the cities who are already quite stretched out, stressed out, busy people, making them to choose something because it's more eco-friendly. It's quite difficult to persuade. So with the technologies we came up with, it basically helps people to charge their EVs more conveniently at home. We originally spotted the problem due to the great, huge sales rise in China, mainly, where I live, since the year 2020. And as for example, in the cities of Beijing, where I live, people choose EVs because it has better policy and benefits. But people are really hindering with where they charge. So we try to come up with a solution, and we have not gone with the solution of mainstream at the time, which is fast charging in public parking spaces, but had really put in probably a year of study and development and see where would be the ideal best charging solutions for now and for probably in 10, 20 years as an infrastructure. So that's how we approach the problem.
Well, that's really interesting because you're really looking into the future to see what are some of the solutions that we can do today. Now, if you were to look into that future, what would it look like? What does success for Andrea and for Shiji-Yunan look like in 5 to 10 years?
Cool. So the solution we come up with is that we looked where would be the most convenient place for people to charge. And it's not in a public space where you probably have to go just for charging. It probably won't be somewhere you park naturally. Although in some supermarkets, malls, cinemas, um, or office buildings, you provide charging places, but that's inevitably not the place where you park the longest. It will be the spot where you park in your residential area, which is the kind of the most natural place, would be best to have charging incorporating with the parking. So we spotted that residential area would be the place to come up with a good solution. But it faced a lot of challenges, such as the lack of electricity capacity, and also normally the rights of um, the parking slots is disturbed. It's not like a wholly centered with one owner, so you have to persuade more owners and the capacity other building runners. It's quite a difficult problem. So we came up with a solution where you don't have to increase the capacity, electricity capacity itself, but to distribute it with without needing um, to move around your cars. You just park it there and you connect to our charging system. Then when the building has enough electricity capacity, balanced with other loads and also the charging cluster itself, it will start to charge it for you. So this solution, with our effort and with WIPO Green, Green Cities pilot project effort, we had implemented first in 2021 in Beijing, and now we have a quite good solutions which have been spread out. We now have a few hundred projects which we have already implemented similar solutions.
Thank you. That's a very interesting answer, because you actually told us a little bit about the evolution of the company and also how you see the growth prospects of it. So it's a very nice narrative. Thanks for that. Now, we met because of your experience on the WIPO Green Acceleration Project in China. Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience? How did your journey happen with the project?
Sure. So as I mentioned earlier, we came up with this. We thought we're definitely right. This is definitely going to be the future solution. So we started on R&D on software, hardware, but at the time was really difficult to calculate what would be the return. As you know, softwares would be flattened out if you have a lot of projects, and if you have rolled out with many experience in hardwares, it could also upgrade and bring down the cost. So we were really hungry to have a project where we want to just to demonstrate what we were thinking and whether it work. Um, and we trying to find a place to implement. At the time, WIPO project had approached me, and with the title of WIPO's help, we managed to find a project location where it's a quite unique place. So the electricity was governed, the capacity was governed by the residential area itself. Normally in Beijing, it's probably managed by the local grid company, but this place it's kind of self-generated with its own kind of circuits. So they had already been a problem of not being able to satisfy people who want to put on EV chargers. Probably they had been stopping people putting on EV chargers for 2 years before we approached them. And they were quite happy with our solution and gave us an area of 600 parking slots, allow us to make changes. I think the property owners were, it really helped because someone had backed up, even without much capital support, but with the name of WIPO, I think we had more credit. And they were quite happy receiving certificates for involving in this project. So that's what we have really benefited from the Green Acceleration project.
Thanks, Andrea. It's interesting to hear how insightful your experience has been in the acceleration project, and also how useful it was to work with WIPO. Andrea, can you share with us some final words of advice for entrepreneurs like yourself, and also how they can benefit from WIPO Green?
with the WIPO Green, there's also a very useful tool of the list where you can look up for some environmental challenges people are facing worldwide, and also some solutions people had come up with also worldwide. So whether you are trying to see what your solution you're trying to come up with is something innovative, you could use the list to see whether other people around the world might have already come up with a solution, and whether you want it to be different or whether you want it to be maybe one more ahead. I think it's quite useful, or collaborate with them. On the other hand, the list of problems, you could also, in my case, can interpret whether what we are seeing in China is something just specific to our city, to China, or whether it's something could potentially means it's worldwide opportunities, and you could spread your solution to a wider world. In our case, I think with the populated residential area, it could be a solution. The lists of EV difficulties, charging difficulties had inspired me to think kind of more broad, in a more broad perspectives.
Thanks. I'm very happy to hear that, because we need people like you. And thank you also for giving us some of the elements for having a successful green tech business in China. But hopefully your example also serves entrepreneurs everywhere else in the world.
Great. Thanks very much for having me today. And I would be very happy to champion for WIPO Acceleration Project anytime. Thank you for your support.
Thank you. As Andrea has shown us, innovation is the key to unlocking a greener future for our cities. Thank you for joining us for this discussion. I hope you have gained valuable insights into the power of technology in responding to the climate crisis, and some of the work we do in WIPO Green too. Stay tuned for more engaging conversations by subscribing to the WIPO channel for inspiring videos that showcase how innovation and creativity shape our world and our lives.